All right, have you ever heard that sharp, satisfying click of tiles and seen those super focused players at a Mahjong table and just wondered, what is going on there? Well, you are in the right place. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on the amazing game of American Mahjong. We'll be sticking to the official rules from the National Mahjong League, so you'll get the real deal.
So, here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, the big one. What's the goal? Then, we'll meet your new best friends, the tiles. We'll learn the super unique Charleston dance. Well, it's a ritual. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how you play your turn. And finally, the key to everything, decoding that scorecard. Stick with me, and by the end, you'll be all set to play.
All right, Section 1. What's the goal? I mean, before you learn any rules or strategy, you've got to know what you're actually trying to do, right? So let's figure out what a win looks like in American Mahjong. So the whole game starts with this big number, 152. Yep, that's how many tiles are in a standard American set. And trust me, when you see all of them spread out on the table, with all those birds and symbols and numbers, it can look like a lot. A little intimidating, for sure. And that, of course, brings up the biggest question of all. With all these different pieces, how in the world do you actually win? Because you're not just grabbing tiles at random. Nope. There's a very, very specific goal you're working towards right from the start.
And here it is. This is the whole shebang. The goal is to build a hand of 14 tiles that is a perfect exact match for one of the hands printed on the official National Mahjong League card. That card is everything. It's your blueprint, your guide, your treasure map. And the best part? It changes every single year, so the game never gets stale.
Okay, so we know we need to build a hand from that special card. But what are we building it with? Let's meet our building blocks, the tiles themselves. You've got to know your tools, right? Okay, so all 152 of those tiles, they basically break down into 4 main groups. The vast majority are what we call suits. These are your dots, your bams, that's short for bamboos, and your cracks, which are characters. They all run from 1 to 9. Then you've got the honors, which are your winds and dragons. And finally, we have the really fun ones, the special tiles. You've got your flowers and, of course, the super powerful jokers.
Now let's talk about the Joker, because this tile is a huge deal in American Mahjong. It's basically a wild card. It can be anything you want it to be, but there's a catch, and it is a critical one. You can use a Joker to fill in a set of 3, 4, or even 5 identical tiles. But, and you absolutely have to remember this, you can never, ever use a Joker to make a pair of 2 or to stand in for a single tile. Getting this rule down is non-negotiable.
All right, here's a heads up on a classic rookie mistake, something that trips up almost everyone at first. See the 1 bam tile? We call it the 1 bam. It almost always has a little bird on it, which, makes it look a heck of a lot like a flower tile, but it's not. The 1 bam is just the number 1 tile in the bamboo suit. A flower is its own special thing. Please don't get them mixed up. So before you even draw your first tile from the wall, American Mahjong has this really cool, kind of formal ritual called the Charleston. Think of it as a structured dance of passing tiles you don't want, giving everyone a shot to improve their hand before the game even really kicks off. Okay, so the first Charleston isn't optional. Everyone does it, and it's a simple 3-step move. Step 1, you pick 3 tiles you don't want and pass them to the player on your right. Step 2, you get some tiles, look at your hand, and pass 3 more tiles to the player across from you. And step 3, you pass a final 3 tiles to the player on your left. That's it. Just burn this into your brain, right across left. Now, there are a couple of optional extras. After that first pass, everyone can agree to do a second Charleston, same moves. And after that, there's an optional courtesy pass with the player across from you. But look, the number 1 most important, absolutely critical rule of the Charleston is this. You do not pass jokers. Ever. They are pure gold. You get one, you hold on to it for dear life. All right, the Charleston's over. Your hand is hopefully looking a little better, and now the actual game starts. So let's get into the mechanics of a turn. What you do when it's your move. So those little groups of matching tiles you're trying to put together, they have a name. They're called melds. And the most common ones you'll be aiming for are pungs. That's P-U-N-G, which is just a fancy word for a set of 3 identical tiles. And kongs, which is a set of 4 identical tiles. This table really spells out that joker rule we talked about earlier. Look, for a pair, 2 identical tiles, no jokers allowed. Simple as that. But for a pung of 3, a kong of 4, or a super rare quint of 5, Yeah, you can absolutely use jokers. In fact, for a quint, which is 5 of the same tile, you actually have to use jokers. There are only 4 of each tile in the set after all.
Okay, so how do you get the tiles you need? Well, on your turn, you draw from the wall. But there's another way. You can interrupt someone else's turn to grab a tile they just discarded. This is called calling, and it's a huge part of the game. But you can't just do it for anything. You can only call a discard if it completes a pung, a kong, or a quint. Oh, and there's one glorious exception. You can call for any discarded tile if it's the last one you need to win. That's when you get to yell, Mahjong! Now this is just as important. Knowing when you have to keep your mouth shut. You absolutely cannot call for a discard to make a pair. Or to just get a single tile you need. That's a no-go. The only time you can call a discard for a pair or a single is if it's that final game-winning tile for Mahjong. That's it. No other exceptions. Okay, we've danced around it enough. It's time to tackle the single most important piece of equipment in this game, the National Mahjong League card. Seriously, this thing is your Bible. Don't think of it like a dense rulebook. Think of it more like a menu of delicious, winning hands you can order. Yeah, so you open up the card for the first time and you see something like this. Just a bunch of letters and numbers. It looks like you're trying to crack a secret code, right? But I promise it's not random. Every single line is a precise recipe for a winning hand. So let's learn the language. So let's translate that line of code. NNN. That just means a pung of north wind tiles. 3 of them. SSS. You guessed it, a pung of souths. 2222 is a kong of 2s, and 4444 is a kong of 4s. Now, you might be asking, a 2 of what suit? That's where the colors on the card come in. The card uses red, green, and blue ink. If the 2s and 4s are printed in 2 different colors, that's your clue that the tiles have to come from 2 different suits. See? Once you get the hang of it, it's actually a pretty elegant system. The card also gives you another crucial piece of info for each hand. Is it exposed, marked with an X, or concealed, marked with a C? This is a huge deal. For an exposed hand, you're allowed to call for discards, but the trade-off is you have to lay that meld face up on your rack for everyone to see what you're doing. But for a concealed hand, you have to draw every single tile from the wall yourself. No calling allowed except for that final tile to win. It's way harder, sure, but you have total secrecy. Your opponents are just guessing. This completely changes how you play the game. And that's basically it. We've talked about the goal, we've met the tiles, we've done the Charleston, and we've decoded the card. You now have all the fundamental pieces. So let's finish up with a couple of key tips to help you hit the ground running. So here's my advice for when you're just starting out. First, don't try to memorize the entire card. That's just crazy. Pick one section, maybe the easiest one, and just focus on those hands. Second, be ruthless in the Charleston. If a tile doesn't help you with the hands in that section, get rid of it. And most importantly, be flexible. If the tiles just aren't coming your way for one hand, you have to be willing to switch gears and try for a different one. Don't be stubborn. And that's the rundown, the core rules of American Mahjong. It really is an amazing game. Part strategy, part pattern recognition, and yeah, a little bit of luck. I know it can sound like a lot at first, but once you sit down and start playing, it'll all start to click, I promise. So now you know the rules. The only real question is, what hand are you going to win with first?